ISIS has called for attacks during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and the 4th of July celebrations that this year overlap. This morning in New Jersey, the FBI arrested 23-year-old Ala Sadeh, charged with providing services and recruits to ISIS. The latest in a series of terror-related arrests across the U.S., at least 8 in the past 2 weeks.
The question is really academic and maybe even silly to ask. Are ISIS and other terrorist factions planning to attack the United States? Of course they are. Anyone with common sense and even a scant knowledge of current affairs understands this is the world we live in. The condition is 24/7, 365. But what of this July 4th weekend and the warnings we're hearing about? What effect does it all have, not just on the terrorists, but on our own national psyche as we fight a war that seemingly has no end? Our guest is the former Deputy National Secretary Security Advisor to Vice President Dick Cheney and current Senior Counselor at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, John Hanna. John, thanks so much for joining us, and I have to begin this discussion by asking you, with all of these threats we have heard, and they continue to escalate every single day, do you believe they're overkill or are they on target?
Listen, this is a very hard call. Having worked in administrations, having been through these terror alerts, especially around anniversaries when we know terrorists would love to get to the United States, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. My guess is that officials always will err on the side of caution and saying that we told you that something could happen. But you can go overboard, I'm afraid, and you have such a chilling effect that the terrorists actually, of course, end up winning by stopping us from doing what we need to do to go about our daily lives and live our freedoms. We need to be vigilant, but we can't be chilled from conducting our lives as free citizens in a free republic.
John, you touched on my next question absolutely and very succinctly. In just putting us at this point, having us ratcheting up constantly all of these different terror alerts, have the terrorists already, in some ways, won?
They might say they have. I don't think so, Ed. I think the country's done incredibly well over the course of the last 13 years. We've heightened our security, we've improved our defenses, but we still are the freest country on the face of the earth, and we need to try and keep it that way.
So let's talk about keeping it that way. Do you believe right now that we are better as a nation, as far as our intelligence is concerned, in being able to tell the difference between the possibility of a real attack and what might be just some terrorist nut job blowing off smoke somewhere that basically smoke screens everything?
I think we are better. I think there's no question that our defenses are better, our intelligence is better, we know more about the enemy, the way law enforcement and our intelligence community cooperate. We're much better synced up than we were before 2001. So to uncover really sophisticated, well-planned plots, I think we're in much better shape. My fear, Ed, more than anything, is these lone wolf attacks. The guy's self-actualized in his basement who reads these tens of thousands of messages going over social media saying, get up, get your AK-47, attack a mall, a shopping center. That's my real fear, because how do you stop that?
Well, let's then look at that, because ISIS has already claimed in recent months that they have terror cells in place in 15 states. They've talked about Virginia, Maryland, Illinois, California, and Michigan. Isn't it fair to say, John, that a lot of times they will make these claims, if for no other reason than to try and drive one of those lone wolves, one of those whack jobs that's just sitting there waiting for what he or she considers to be some sort of a sign to attack America? They will take that and use that to their own advantage. And we really can't get ahead of those. Those just happen.
I think it really is hard to get ahead of those. That's what ISIS would clearly like to happen. It's put out an order, especially over Ramadan, especially over July 4th, especially over the first anniversary of their declaration of the caliphate. There'd be no bigger prize for them than to be able to hit the United States here at home, to have one of these sad sack people, loners alienated from American society, go out and decide he's going to shoot something up and cause some kind of havoc in the United States. That's what they'd like to happen. If they don't do that, then they're probably perfectly fine to be able to tell their followers that they, by their simple threats, by what they've done, they're able to get the United States completely ginned up, to get us overreacting, to get us putting in more security measures, spending tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars on new security measures. So even when nothing happens, they're able to claim some kind of small measure of victory.
So, John, let's do our best here to try and get the American public ahead of the game. As we approach the July 4th holiday, we're always told if you see something, say something. Outside of that, what would be your best advice for the American public to keep themselves ready and what to be on the lookout for?
I think it is that suspicious person, that person acting in an odd way, that package that has been left somewhere where nobody is claiming it, that looks odd to you. I would just say, people are always worried about causing a ruckus, about causing a problem. They'd rather say nothing. I'd say err on the side of caution. Let somebody know, alert somebody, and just be vigilant about your surroundings and what's happening around you. Other than that, don't let it change your life. The chances of being hurt in a terrorist operation are still quite infinitesimal here in the United States compared to the risk you run by just driving to that July 4th celebration or being out in the burning hot sun in Washington on a hot July 4th day.
Isn't that the biggest thing that we need to talk about here is, and I mentioned this earlier, the American psyche. We're told this every day. The media is here. You and I are here. So many other people. We're warning them. People get scared. They get it into their psyche as to what may and may not happen. How do we then as a nation? We're prepared, we're ready, our intel's out there, and we're on the lookout. What else can we do to stop that permeating our soul and getting us so fearful?
It's very hard to know. It's so individualistic. Americans are clearly very concerned about this Islamist threat. I do think you need leadership. You need leadership that is both cautious but wise and that is ready to mobilize the American people, as the Israeli people have done, who have lived with this kind of threat now for literally decades and yet still have the freest society in the heart of the Middle East that is absolutely falling apart. I think that's the kind of leadership and bravery that we need here in the United States, and I think the American people are up to it if these things are put in the proper context for them.
John, I think you said two words there that we don't hear enough of, and maybe we should: cautious and wise, which is what a lot of our leadership needs to be, and sometimes they fall so drastically short of that it is absolutely terrible. John, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. To you and your family, have a wonderful and have a very safe July 4th holiday.
Thanks, Ed. You too. Good night.
All right, take care.